The joke echoed through the glittering executive floor, followed by laughter that bounced off glass walls and polished marble. Nobody noticed the quiet janitor standing at the end of the hallway, pushing his cleaning cart with tired hands. Nobody except fate. Before we begin, if you believe kindness can change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Ecoverse. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories like this to life. The headquarters of Asterion Global looked less like an office and more like a palace of success. Every employee hurried through the halls carrying expensive laptops, important files, and dreams larger than themselves. At the top of this empire stood the young CEO, Corinne Hale, a woman admired for her intelligence and feared for her impossible standards. At just 35, she had transformed her late father's struggling company into a billion-dollar powerhouse. Investors praised her. Magazines celebrated her. Rivals envied her. Yet behind every award-winning smile was a loneliness no photograph could capture. Corinne had built walls around her heart after years of betrayal. Her former fiancé had only loved her wealth. Close friends had disappeared when they realized she refused to finance their lifestyles. Every relationship became a business negotiation. Eventually, she stopped believing genuine love even existed. Whenever her board members teased her about marriage, she laughed it off with sarcasm. That Friday afternoon, during an exhausting executive meeting, one director joked that perhaps she should stop chasing quarterly profits and start chasing a husband before she turned 40. The room erupted with laughter. Corinne rolled her eyes dramatically and walked into the hallway where the janitor was quietly polishing the conference room door. Without thinking, she smiled with playful exhaustion and said loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear, "If anyone can find me a husband by Sunday, I'll probably marry him." The executives laughed harder. The janitor simply nodded politely. His name was Alden Mercer. Most people believed Alden barely existed. He arrived before sunrise, cleaned every floor, repaired broken chairs without being asked, remembered birthdays no one else noticed, and left long after everyone had gone home. Employees rarely looked at his face. To them, he was simply part of the building. What nobody knew was that Alden had once been a respected architect. Years earlier, a bridge project he designed collapsed after a corrupt contractor secretly replaced quality materials with cheap substitutes. Although Alden had warned everyone repeatedly, powerful people blamed him anyway. His reputation vanished overnight. Unable to find work and determined to care for his younger sister during her cancer treatments, he accepted any honest job available. Cleaning offices paid little, but dignity was worth more than pride. Every evening, after finishing work, Alden volunteered at a community shelter where he repaired broken furniture and tutored children in mathematics. He never spoke about his past because he believed good deeds mattered more than impressive resumes. Corinne never knew any of this. She only remembered that quiet nod after her careless joke. Saturday arrived with endless meetings, charity events, and interviews. Reporters constantly asked Corinne why she remained single. She smiled professionally while feeling emptier inside with every question. Meanwhile, Alden spent the morning helping an elderly widow fix her leaking roof before delivering groceries to several struggling families from the shelter. While walking home through the city park, he found a frightened little girl crying beside a fountain. She had become separated from her parents during a festival. Alden stayed with her for nearly an hour until the desperate couple returned, embracing their daughter through grateful tears. Watching the reunion reminded Alden of something his late mother often said. She believed life rewarded people who quietly carried the burdens of strangers. That evening, Alden visited a small jewelry shop that he wasn't shopping for an expensive diamond. Instead, he chose a simple silver ring decorated with a tiny blue sapphire. The jeweler smiled kindly and asked whether he was proposing. Alden answered softly that he hoped to give someone a reason to believe in kindness again. Sunday morning arrived under bright sunshine. Corinne remained buried beneath financial reports inside her luxurious penthouse. Outside her enormous windows, the city sparkled with opportunity, yet inside her home, silence filled every room. At exactly 11 o'clock, her doorbell rang. Assuming it was another delivery, she opened the door without much thought. Standing there was Alden. He wore his only suit, carefully pressed despite its age. In one hand he held fresh wildflowers gathered from a local market. In the other rested a tiny velvet box. Corinne stared in complete disbelief. She almost laughed, not because he was ridiculous, because she couldn't understand how someone had actually taken her joke seriously. Alden smiled gently and handed her the flowers before opening the small box. Inside rested the simple silver ring that he calmly explained that he wasn't asking her to marry a janitor because she was rich or powerful. He had spent months watching how she quietly paid for medical treatments of employees without public announcements. He noticed she anonymously funded scholarships and secretly delivered holiday bonuses through human resources so nobody would feel indebted. He also noticed something everyone else ignored: every act of kindness she performed happened behind closed doors. She wasn't heartless, she was simply lonely. Alden admitted that her hallway joke stayed in his mind because sometimes lonely people hide behind humor. He continued by saying the ring wasn't a proposal for immediate marriage. It was an invitation. An invitation to have dinner with someone who saw her as a human being before seeing her title. Corinne found herself unable to speak. Nobody had ever approached her without mentioning money, status, or business. She accepted the flowers, not the proposal, just the invitation. They spent that evening eating at a tiny family-owned restaurant instead of one of the city's luxury establishments. Alden insisted ordinary places revealed extraordinary people. Corinne laughed more during that simple meal than she had in years. He listened instead of interrupting. He asked about her childhood instead of her company. He noticed when she looked tired, when she accidentally apologized for discussing work too much. He simply smiled and reminded her that people often speak most about the things carrying the greatest weight in their hearts. Weeks passed. Dinner became weekend walks. Weekend walks became volunteer projects. Corinne secretly joined Alden at the community shelter, expecting to donate money. Instead, he handed her a paintbrush. For the first time in years, she painted classroom walls beside children who didn't know she owned skyscrapers. They only knew she laughed when paint landed on her shoes. She felt alive. One rainy afternoon, Corinne discovered newspaper articles hidden inside an old storage box at the shelter. Every headline featured Alden's architectural achievements from years ago, followed by devastating stories about the bridge collapse. She confronted him gently. Only then did he reveal the truth. He showed her engineering reports proving he had warned officials repeatedly before construction finished. The corruption had been carefully covered up by influential executives who sacrificed his reputation to protect themselves. Corinne immediately recognized one name: the contractor responsible had recently submitted bids to Asterion Global. Without hesitation, she launched an independent investigation using her legal department. Months later, overwhelming evidence exposed decades of fraud involving several powerful businessmen. Alden's innocence was officially recognized. His professional license was restored. News channels celebrated the remarkable story of a forgotten architect finally receiving justice. Journalists expected Alden to demand revenge. Instead, he thanked the maintenance workers who had accepted him without asking about his past. He said dignity never depended on job titles. Those words spread across social media faster than any corporate announcement. Corinne watched the interview with tears in her eyes. She finally understood why the quiet janitor had changed her life. He had never tried to rescue her from loneliness. He had simply walked beside her until she discovered she wasn't alone anymore. 1 year after that unforgettable Sunday, employees gathered inside the same executive hallway where laughter once echoed at Alden's expense. This time, every cleaner, receptionist, intern, and executive stood together. Corinne stepped forward holding the same silver ring. She smiled toward Alden, whose eyes filled with emotion before she even spoke. She reminded everyone about the careless joke she had made months earlier. Then she admitted it had become the greatest blessing of her life. She said success had built her company, but kindness had rebuilt her heart. In front of everyone, she slipped the silver ring onto Alden's finger before placing another matching ring on her own hand. The hallway filled with applause. Some employees cried openly, others remembered how often they had ignored the quiet janitor walking past them every morning. From that day forward, Asterion Global introduced a tradition unlike any other corporation. Every executive spent 1 day each month working alongside maintenance teams, cafeteria workers, security guards, and receptionists. Respect stopped flowing downward from titles. It flowed equally in every direction. Years later, visitors entering company headquarters noticed a framed photograph near the entrance. It wasn't a picture of the tallest building the company owned, nor was it a photo of Corinne receiving another business award. Instead, it showed a CEO holding wildflowers beside a smiling former janitor. Below the picture appeared a simple sentence: "Never underestimate the person everyone else forgets to notice." If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Ecoverse. Your support allows these stories of hope, kindness, and second chances to reach more people around the world. Special request: before this story ends, tell us in the comments, what matters more in a life partner: kindness, loyalty, or success? We'd love to read your thoughts. As the sun set beyond the city skyline, Corinne realized something no business school had ever taught her. Wealth could buy luxury, influence could command respect, and success could fill headlines, but only genuine kindness could fill an empty heart. The joke she had tossed into the hallway without a second thought had returned as the greatest miracle of her life. And somewhere, perhaps in another office or another forgotten hallway, someone quietly doing ordinary work might already be carrying the extraordinary heart that changes another person's destiny forever.